Over the last few years, the mass incarceration of more than 1 million Uyghurs and Kazakhs by the Chinese government has led to international outrage. These labor programs are part of that larger story. Let's take a closer look at the compound we showed you at the beginning. It's in Xinjiang, in the northern city of Quaitun, where the population is mostly China's Han ethnic majority. But the workers in the compound are Uyghurs and other minorities, transferred there from their homes in Hotan and Kashgar, hundreds of miles away. At the Quaitun complex, there are multiple dormitories. We see that right around the time the transfer started in 2017, a security checkpoint and another building, a cafeteria, were built at the site. The camera person is now shooting inside of the cafeteria. We can see the compound's residents. They all work as street cleaners. A sign describing the program calls them Kashgar and Hotan surplus labor. It also lists instructions for how they should conduct themselves, and another poster offers guidelines on how to interact with the local population. This program, and others like it, have led to the relocation of hundreds of thousands of Uyghurs away from their homes and families. But government propaganda openly promotes these as poverty alleviation initiatives.
促进喀什和田地区城乡妇孺劳动力转移就业，增加城乡妇孺劳动力收入，体现了党中央、习近平总书记和自治区党委政府对喀什和田地区各族群众的关心关怀。
What's at stake here is about more than just putting people into labor programs. The bigger goal is to turn Uyghurs and other ethnic minorities away from their own heritage to be more in line with the rest of communist China. Back at the compound, the rules strictly limit when and where the workers can go. We hear about this as a camera person meets residents in the sleeping quarters.
那你像你们这个晚上，比如说你不在食堂吃饭，你可以出去吃饭吗？
中午，中午吃可以。
不是，我说你来了1年了，你回去过没有？看过孩子没有？
孩子没有。
This man was pressured to come here a year earlier, leaving his family, a wife and young child, behind. His life here includes mandatory Mandarin classes in the evenings. And despite the government's claim that they are lifting these workers out of poverty, he says he's only making 1/3 of what he did back home.
你这个每个月发多少钱呢
？2000。
像你没来之前，你在家里面收入多少钱啊？
去年的200一天。
Yarkand County is the home he left behind. For Uyghurs in towns like these, the future is becoming increasingly uncertain. Because the decision whether to stay or go is often no longer in their hands.
When we continue to look at biblical history, biblical prophecy, and the movements that are now taking place around the world today, we can see just how it shows the Vatican beast is controlling the world and pulling the strings through the Jesuit order. When the Pope says to worship the Trinitarian God of dung, the world follows. When the Pope says have graven images, the world follows. When the Pope says climate change, the world follows. And when the Pope says to attend church on Sunday through his pulpits today, the world follows, just as the Bible said they would do in the last days. Truly, the world is wondering after the beast of Rome, and they are worshiping the power behind it, the dragon, Satan.
And all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him?
The throne of Satan resides in the Vatican, and anyone who has a competent knowledge of this institution's bloody past will not question this truth.
I know thy works, and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is. And thou holdest fast my name, and hast not denied my faith, even in those days wherein Antichrist'S was my faithful martyr, who was slain among you where Satan dwelleth.
The bloody past of this Vatican beast has slain the saints of God on the earth for many reasons, which those saints living during the glory years of the Roman Catholic Church in her uprising was given a name for those times. This word Antichrist is not a person's name, but it is a term characteristic of the times. It is composed of two words, anti and pappus, or papa. Anti signifies against, and papa or pappus signifies papa, which is our English and also the universal word for papa. And this word papa is but a repetition of the word pap, and it is the original of the word pope. Therefore, the word Antichrist simply means those who were against the pope were slain for not taking a knee and bowing to Baal in those times. And again, history is soon to repeat that bloody past of the Inquisition of the Vatican, when it is brought back to life through Sunday laws, and thus the movements around the world through the Pope's climate change agenda is doing just that. And as they press forward to unite the world under the Pope's common good climate change hoax, which will bring in the worshiping of the Antichrist Pope, Sunday laws for Satan, of course, they are sinking the world further down the path of deception by causing another stumbling block for those trying to understand some biblical prophecy that the mark of the beast is some silly computer chip implant in the right hand or the forehead, which they fail to realize this is pathetic symbolism that is stated in the Bible, and not to be understood literally. But those who are of the flesh will see it as such, and thus the Vatican has deceived the world with their Jesuits that are filling most of the pulpits today in the world. Sunday laws will bring forth the entire world to worship and pay homage to the beast of Rome and his image of sin, and thus they will worship the dragon, Satan. Those that willfully agree with Sunday laws in order to secure their earthly life will receive the mark of the beast in their mind, where they freely decide to worship the beast in his image. And those who cannot be deceived will thus be taken by the hand and forced against their will to receive the mark of the beast in their right hand by force or die. The world will soon have to decide again who they are going to worship, which the mark of the beast is all about, worship. And if they choose to worship the Pope through the keeping of his Sunday laws, they will be destroyed by God in the 7 last plagues when probation closes on this world. And then eternal destruction will be on their path when they are raised in the second resurrection of those who will be cursed in the great white throne judgment, where God's justice will be executed to destroy the wicked, the unrepentant sinners.
On May 14, Pope Francis will participate in a world event in the Vatican with the goal of rebuilding the Global Educational Pact. It will seek to delve into the formation of young people, overcome divisions, and reflect upon caring for the planet.
In early 2017, the man of sin in Rome, Pope Francis, met with leaders from the apostate 501c3 Protestant churches, including Kenneth Copeland, to discuss Christian unity. Rick Warren and Joel Osteen have voiced their public support to Pope Francis, and thus their Protestant leader, Kenneth Copeland, has spoken.
The protest is over. This was brought about by Spirit-filled Pope and Spirit-filled Lutherans that got together in the Holy Ghost.
As each year passes by, the barriers between the Roman Catholic Church and her harlot daughters, the Protestant churches, are quickly fading away. How quickly have the Protestant churches forgotten what the Protestant reformers have said about the popes of Rome? Truly, there are many doctrines and beliefs shared between the Roman Catholic Church and her Protestant daughters, which are no longer protesting against the man of sin, as you have recently just heard that the protest is over. As mentioned before, Pope Francis spoke about the global common good in confronting climate change in a meeting held in May 2019. We can see how most of the world and the Protestants are all on board, even with their other similarities of doctrines. But what is going to unite the truth from error in these last days is who we are going to worship, God or Satan, God on his biblical seventh-day Sabbath, or the Pope on his Sunday worship, which pays homage to the powers that created this pagan sun worship Vatican Baal institution. The Protestant churches have chimed in to the false climate change gospel of the current Pope. As indicated in our previous video on the common good of the Vatican, in item number 2188 in the Catholic Church Catechism, it clearly says, in respecting religious liberty and the common good of all, Christians should seek recognition on Sunday and the Church's holy days as legal holidays. This is the common good that the man of sin in Rome wants for the world. The man of sin in the Vatican wants the world to share his vision of the common good by encouraging the world's citizens to recognize Sunday as the day of rest and worshiping him. The Protestant church leaders who are active contributors towards the Vatican's one world religion movement, they are clearly echoing Pope Francis and his common good for all in bringing about Sunday laws and paying homage to the authority of their mother, the harlot, the Vatican.
Now, take a good look at that picture. The night before, we had a dinner together before we met with Pope Francis the next day. That many evangelicals in one room. Folks, you don't get it.
I believe that the Catholic Church and the Christian Church are going to come together.
When you talk about Pentecostals, Charismatics, Evangelicals, Fundamentalists, Catholics, Methodist, Baptist, Presbyterian, on and on and on, well, they would all say, we believe in the Trinity, we believe in the Bible, we believe in the resurrection, We believe salvation is through Jesus Christ. These are the big issues. Sometimes Protestants think that Catholics worship Mary like she's another God, but that's not exactly Catholic doctrine. There's the understanding, and people say, well, what are the saints all about? Why are you praying to the saints? And when you understand what they mean by what they're saying, there's a whole lot more commonality. But the most important thing is, if you love Jesus, we're on the same team.
And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation.
After one of the busiest years of his pontificate, Pope Francis will kick off 2020 with another intense schedule. Pope Francis is preparing an apostolic exhortation to explain the takeaways of the Amazon Synod. In March, he will make his 4th visit to Assisi. That's where he has called together great economists and young people from around the world for the Economy of Francesco Summit. The conference will be held from March 26 to 28. It will study the economy the Pope calls for in his world messages.
And he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.